Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will.
This summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin is significant, partly because Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is absent. It is Donald Trump and Putin acting as though these are two great powers divvying up the spoils from this war without Zelenskyy being present. And I think that's something that appeals to both Trump and Putin. And that is part of what really offends defenders of Ukraine. This idea that Ukraine is being divvied up, it's being sliced up without its own leader being present.
President Zelenskyy has to get all of his everything he needs, because he's going to have to get ready to sign something, and I think he is working hard to get that done.
Donald Trump is obviously important because he leads the most dominant military power in the world right now, and he leads the power that has the most influence over what Russia does. So there is a suggestion within the Trump administration that Ukraine might voluntarily give up some of its territory, including some territory that is not currently occupied by Russia, in return for a peace agreement. This is a real sticking point for the people of Ukraine, who have been fighting so hard for years at this point to try and preserve Ukraine as it was before. The idea by the Trump administration that as a reward of sorts for ending the war, Putin might get to keep some of what he has already stolen from Ukraine, by some reports actually gain more than he's already occupied, that is just morally unacceptable for a lot of people in Ukraine. Understandably so. They see it as Vladimir Putin being rewarded for his aggression.
We're going to get some back. We're going to get some switched. There'll be some swapping of territories to the betterment of both.
I think it has become apparent with Donald Trump over a period of years now that he doesn't particularly care what Europe thinks of him or what other countries' leaders think of him. He cares about how he is perceived in the United States by the American public. And I think in his head, he wants to be seen as a peacemaker. He wants to be seen as someone who ends wars rather than starting them. So if he can reach an agreement with Putin which is unfavorable towards Ukraine, which sees Russia keep a lot of territory that it has stolen illegally, I think he would see that as almost a public relations win, because it would cast him as someone who ends wars rather than starting them. Problem is, the rest of the world would not see it that way at all. When it comes to economic matters, the nickname Taco has stuck to Trump for good reason. This idea that Trump always chickens out. So he'll make a big threat, and then he will eventually retreat from that threat and not follow through. That has been the case with many of his tariff threats, and I think we, at this point, can say it is also the case with his threats towards Russia. He gave a very firm deadline to Russia. He said, end the war, reach a peace agreement by this date, or we will impose ruinous tariffs on you. And instead what we've seen is Vladimir Putin do nothing in that regard, and Donald Trump rewarding him with a summit not only with the American president, but on American soil and in Alaska, which is a place that Russian propaganda says should be Russian. We have seen Donald Trump issue threats which sound very impressive at the time, and instead of following through on them, he has backed down and ultimately rewarded the Russian dictator. It does not scream strength from the United States. It says that the United States can ultimately be outlasted, be outbullied, I suppose.
If I were president, and I say this, I will end that war in one day. It'll take 24 hours.
Donald Trump, of course, before the election, promised that he would end the war within a day of becoming president, if not before. And he has since claimed to have been making it in jest, as a sort of joke. But if you go back and watch what he said at the time, it clearly wasn't a joke. He was clearly being very serious when he said he would end this war within 24 hours, the fact that this war is still going, and that Vladimir Putin has not been pressured to make any concessions really whatsoever by the Trump administration, even after 6 months of them being in power, is significant.
We will continue to stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes, because this is the struggle of a democratic nation versus an authoritarian regime led by Vladimir Putin.
The good thing for us is we have a very clear position, which is pro-Ukraine. It is pro the defense of Ukraine. I don't think Australians would particularly accept any deal that saw Russia take even more territory than it already holds, that it is stolen from Ukraine. I don't think we are, risking our relationship with the Trump administration by defending Ukraine so fulsomely. The problem might come if we publicly contradict the president in aggressive terms, which is what we're close to doing when it comes to Palestine, but we haven't quite crossed that line yet.